The battlefield was silent now. Only the cold stars and drifting wrecks remained. Among the broken metal floated a small escape pod. Inside, a young alien girl lay on the floor, weak and trembling. Her skin was pale, her eyes heavy. She had been abandoned. Her people had left her behind because she was wounded and could no longer fight. She pressed her hand against the cracked glass of the pod. Around her were pieces of her destroyed fleet ships burning, fragments spinning, shadows of war fading. Into silence. She could still hear the echoes of screams, though the comms were dead. Her name no longer mattered. To her people, she was nothing. Broken, useless, forgotten. Her chest ached with every breath. She whispered into the darkness, "Why? Why am I still alive?" The pod's oxygen meter blinked red. Soon there would be no air. She closed her eyes, ready to let death take her. But then a faint sound dotted first. She thought it was only in her mind, a trick of her fading senses. But no, it was real. A voice. Static crackled through the comm system, and through the broken signal, she heard words in a language she did not expect. It was a human voice. "Is anyone alive out there? Do you copy?" Her heart froze. Fear rushed through her veins. Humans. She had been taught they were monsters, ruthless, savage, destroyers of worlds. Her people had warned her all her life. If a human finds you, better to die quickly than fall into their hands. And now, a human voice was calling her. She tried to shut off the comms, but the system was too damaged. Her hands shook as she pulled her knees close, whispering, "No, no, not them. Please, anyone but them." The voice came again, clearer this time. "I see your pod. You're not dead, are you? Hold on." Through the cracked glass, she saw a light bright against the darkness of space. A small ship was moving toward her pod. Its hull was old, patched, and scarred by battles, but its engines glowed steady. Her breath caught in her throat. The human ship was coming closer. She thought of ending it now, breaking the pod's seal, letting the vacuum take her. Quick, clean, better than falling into the hands of the enemy. But her body betrayed her. She was too weak, too broken to move. She could only watch as the ship extended its mechanical arms and locked onto her pod. The hatch hissed. The pod shook. The door opened. Blinding light spilled in. She tried to crawl back, but her limbs refused to obey. A shadow stood in the doorway. Tall, broad, a figure in a worn spacesuit, the visor reflecting the glow of the stars. The human. Her heart pounded. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The figure stepped closer, kneeling down. A voice came through the helmet, calm but firm. "You're alive. Good. Don't move. I've got you." She stared at him, confused. His tone was not cruel, not mocking. He spoke as if he truly cared whether she lived. Her training screamed at her. Do not trust, do not believe. Humans lie, but she could not deny what she saw. His hands were steady as he lifted her out of the broken pod. He handled her as if she were fragile glass, not a hated enemy. Her vision blurred as the ship's lights surrounded her. She felt warmth for the first time in what felt like forever. A blanket was wrapped around her. Oxygen filled her lungs through a mask. The human's voice again. "You're safe now. You don't have to die out here." Safe. She almost laughed. At the word, safe with a human? Impossible. And yet, the warmth of the blanket, the steady rhythm of his voice, the air filling her lungs, these things told her otherwise. Her eyes closed, not from fear this time, but from exhaustion. Her last thought before sleep claimed her was a question she could not escape. Why would a human save me? The stars outside the ship continued their silent watch. The battlefield was behind her now, but something greater, something stranger, had Just begun. The stranger the hum of engines filled the small human ship. The alien girl lay on a narrow bed, wrapped in a blanket. Her body trembled, not only from weakness, but from fear. She opened her eyes slowly. The ceiling above her was metal, patched with scars of old battles. The room smelled faintly of oil. Steel, and something warm food, maybe. Her chest rose and fell with steady breaths. Oxygen, real air. For the first time in days, she could breathe without choking. But then she remembered. A human had saved her. Her heart quickened. She forced herself to sit up, ignoring the pain in her side. Her eyes darted around the room. There was no weapon in her reach, no way to escape. She was trapped. The door slid open with a hiss. He entered. The human, tall, broad-shouldered, still, wearing parts of his spacesuit. His helmet was gone now, revealing his face. His skin was rough, tanned from long work in harsh light. His eyes were sharp, but not cruel. He carried a tray in his hands. Steam rose from a small metal bowl. She pressed herself back against the wall, glaring at him with all the strength she had left. Her voice was weak, but sharp like broken glass. "Kill me quickly, human." The man stopped in his tracks, his eyebrows raised. For a moment, he simply stared, then let out a dry laugh. "Kill you? That's the thanks I get for pulling you out of a dead pod?" She didn't answer. Her throat tightened. He placed the tray on a table and moved closer. She tensed, expecting pain, expecting violence. Instead, he sat down on a chair across from her, keeping a careful distance. "You look half-starved," he said. "Eat. It'll help." Her stomach twisted at the smell of the food. She hadn't eaten in days. But her pride, her fear held. Her back. "I will not take poison," she hissed. The man sighed and shook his head. He picked up the bowl, took a spoonful, and ate it himself. Then he set it down and pushed the tray toward her. "See? Not poison, just soup." Her eyes widened. Why would he? She stared at the steam rising from the bowl. The warmth touched her senses, pulling at the hunger she tried to ignore. Slowly, carefully, she reached for the spoon. Her hand shook as she tasted the first drop. It was simple food. But to her starving body, it was life. She hated herself for it, but tears burned her eyes. She ate in silence, spoon after spoon, until the bowl was empty. The man leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. He watched her, not like an enemy, not like prey, but as if she were simply another living being. Finally, she whispered, "Why? Why what? Why save me? I am your enemy. My people fought yours. We would have killed you without mercy." He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. His eyes were steady. "Maybe your people would, but you're not your people. You're you. And you were dying out there." His words shook her more than any weapon could. She had no answer. For a long moment, the room was silent, filled only by the hum of the ship's engines. At last, he stood. "Get some rest. You're safe here." He turned to leave. Her voice, thin but urgent, stopped him. "Safe with a human?" He paused in the doorway. Without turning, he spoke. "Safer than being alone out there." The door closed behind him. She lay back down, staring at the ceiling. Her mind was chaos. Everything she had been taught, everything she believed, was cracking apart. Humans were supposed to be merciless, brutal, monsters. But this one, he had given her warmth, food, and life when even her own people had left her to die. She clenched, the blanket in her hands, whispering to herself, "It's a trick. It has to be." And yet, deep inside, a spark she thought long dead flickered. A fragile thing, but dangerous. Hope. She closed her eyes, but sleep would not come. Every time she drifted, she remembered his words. You don't have to die out. Here. Her chest tightened. She wanted to believe. She was terrified to believe. Hours passed. The ship glided through the silent void. Then, a sudden noise. A sharp beep from the control panels outside her room. She sat up, heart racing. Through the thin wall, she heard the human's voice, tense this time. Damn it, we've got company. Her. Blood ran cold. Enemy signals? Her people? Or worse hunters? The fear of death returned. Only this time, it was mixed with something else. The fear of losing the one who had just given her hope. The healing the ship shook as the engines roared louder, but then it grew steady again. Somewhere beyond the walls, danger still waited. Yet inside the small cabin, the girl lay on the narrow bed, weak but alive. The door slid open, and the human stepped in. His face looked tired, his jaw tight. Still, he carried another tray water and a strip of cloth. You need to drink, he said simply. She stared at the cup in his hand. Last time she had doubted him, but hunger had broken her. Pride. Now, thirst burned her throat, but fear still held her back. Why? She whispered again. Why do you care if I live? The man knelt beside her bed. His voice was calm, steady, like stone. Because you're alive. That's reason enough. The words struck her like a blade. Her people had abandoned her without a second thought. But this human, her enemy, spoke, as if her life still mattered. Her hands trembled as she took the cup. The water was cool, fresh, filling her empty body with strength. He didn't leave right away. He opened a small medical kit, pulling out ointment and clean bandages. Your wounds will get worse if I don't treat them, he said. She flinched. As he reached for her arm, instinct screamed at her to resist, to pull away, to fight. But she had no strength left. Slowly, she let him unwrap the dirty cloth that clung to her skin. The air stung her raw wounds. She hissed through her teeth. Easy. He muttered, this will help. The ointment burned at first, then cooled. His hands were rough but careful. Every move showed control, patience. Not the hands of a monster. She studied his face while he worked. There was no hatred there, no cruelty. Just focus. Her voice cracked. Do all humans care for? Enemies? He paused, meeting her eyes. For a moment, he didn't answer. Then he said, I don't see an enemy. I see someone who deserves a chance. She turned her head away. His words were dangerous. If she believed them, she risked everything. She had been taught. When he finished wrapping her wounds, he stood. Rest. You'll need strength soon. He moved toward the door. Wait, she said quickly. He stopped, glancing back. Her lips trembled. She wanted to ask why again, to demand answers. Instead, only 2 words escaped. Thank you. The man gave a small nod. Not pride, not triumph, just quiet acknowledgement. Then he left the room. Time passed. She slept, waking now and then to the sound of the engines. Each time, food and water waited for her. Each time she found herself a little stronger. Her body healed, but her mind was in chaos. She remembered her people's voices. Humans destroy. Humans lie. Never trust them. Yet this human had given her food when she was starving, water when she was dying, and hope when she had none. It made no sense. At last, she gathered the courage to leave her bed. Her legs shook, weak from days without strength. But she forced herself to stand. She walked slowly through the narrow hallways of the ship. She found him in the cockpit. He sat at the controls, eyes fixed on the stars outside. Alarms blinked faintly on the screen, warnings of nearby signals. But his hands moved with calm precision, adjusting the ship's course. He glanced at her as she entered. You should be resting. I am tired of lying down, she said softly. He nodded, saying nothing more. The silence stretched between them, filled only by the steady hum of the ship. Her eyes drifted to the window. Endless stars stretched across the void. Somewhere among them, her people were still hunting, still killing. Somewhere out there, they had left her to die. Her throat tightened. She whispered, almost to herself, "They would have left you too." The human turned his head. "Who?" "My people. If you are weak, if you are broken, they would have left you to die, just like me." He studied her for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "Then maybe that's why you're here. To see there's another way." She looked at him, searching his face for deception, for cruelty, for the monster she had always feared. But she found none, only a quiet strength. Her chest ached, not from wounds this time, but from something else, something unfamiliar. A fragile warmth spreading where only emptiness had lived. She lowered her eyes. "I don't understand you. You don't have to," he said. "Just live." The words echoed inside her. Just live. For the first time since the battle, since her people abandoned her, she allowed herself to believe it might be possible. But hope is fragile, and peace never lasts. The cockpit alarm suddenly blared, red lights flashing across the screens. The human straightened in his chair, eyes sharp. "They've found us," he muttered. She froze. Her heart pounded in her chest. "Who?" He tapped the screen, showing her the incoming signals. Ships, fast and armed. Her breath caught. She knew those signals. "They are mine," she whispered, her voice breaking. "My people." The man's jaw tightened. His hands gripped the controls. "Then we've got a problem," he said. The girl's blood ran cold. She had begged for death before, but now for the first time she didn't want to die. Not like this. Not now. The shadow's red light flashed across the cockpit walls. The alarm screamed, sharp and cold. The girl's breath caught in her throat. As she stared at the radar, dozens of red dots glowed on the screen. Fast, hunting, closing in. Her knees felt weak. She gripped the side of the chair to steady herself. "It's them," she whispered. "My people." The human didn't flinch. His jaw tightened as he worked the controls. "They're locking on to us," he muttered. She turned to him, fear rising. "You don't understand. If they find me, here if they find me with you." He cut her off with a sharp look. "They'll kill us both." The truth in his voice chilled her. She remembered their faces, the commanders, the soldiers who once called her sister. The same ones who had abandoned her broken body in space. She had prayed for them to return. Now they had, but not as saviors. As executioners. The ship trembled as the engines pushed harder. Stars streaked past the cockpit glass. "They're faster," she said, her voice breaking. The man adjusted dials, flipped switches, his hands steady even as the alarm blared. "Then we'll have to be smarter." She stared at him, her fear clashing with disbelief. He was calm. He was planning. Even now, with death behind them, he refused to give up. Her people would not have done this. They would have abandoned, sacrificed, left the weak behind. Yet this human fought to keep them both alive. The thought unsettled her. The radar beeped louder. The enemy ships were closing the gap. A voice crackled over the comms, harsh and cold. In her language. "Unidentified vessel. Surrender. Hand over the traitor, and your death will be quick." Her blood ran cold. She understood every word. The human glanced at her. What did they say? She hesitated. If she told him, he would know the truth, that they wanted her, that she was the reason they were both in danger. They demand. "We stop," she said finally, her voice low. The human's eyes narrowed, reading more in her silence than her words. But he didn't press her. Instead, he turned back to the controls. "We're not stopping. The comms crackled again, sharper. This time, last chance. The traitor dies with you if you resist. Her heart twisted. They had called her traitor, not soldier, not sister, traitor. Her hands shook. Her own people wanted her dead. And yet here she was, standing beside a human, the one being she was taught to fear. The ship lurched as a laser blast struck the shields. The hull groaned under the impact. Warning lights blinked across the panels. The human cursed under his breath. Shields won't last long. Another blast shook the vessel. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The girl stumbled, grabbing the chair. For balance, her people weren't here to rescue her. They were here to erase her. She pressed her hands to her head, her voice breaking. They will not stop. They will hunt us until we are gone. The man glanced at her, his voice firm. Then we fight. Her eyes widened. Fight? Against them? There are too many. Maybe. But I don't run from shadows. She stared at him, lost for words. Shadows. That's what her people had become, dark shapes hunting in the void, ready to strike down even their own. Another explosion rattled the ship. Alarm screamed. The shields were failing. The human gritted his teeth, pulling a lever. Hang on. The ship dived sharply, plunging into a field of drifting wreckage. Broken ships, shattered metal, silent graves floating in space. The wreckage of old battles. Laser fire followed them, tearing through debris. The girl's heart pounded. One mistake, one wrong move, and they'd be nothing but another corpse drifting in the void. But the human's hands were steady. He weaved through the wreckage with impossible precision, sliding between jagged steel and broken hulls. Her breath caught as she watched him. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with determination. She realized that he wasn't fighting only for himself. He was fighting for her. Another blast shook the wreckage, closer this time. The enemy ships were still on them. The girl's chest tightened. A thought, wild and desperate, forced its way into her mind. She could call them off. She could step to the comms, surrender herself, and maybe they would spare him. Maybe. Her lips trembled. She turned to the human, who was still flying, still fighting. If she stayed, he might die because of her. If she left, she would die for nothing. The wreckage thinned. Ahead, the stars opened wide again. The human pushed the engines harder. For a brief moment, they were free of the wreckage. Then the radar screamed louder than ever. More ships, twice as many, surrounding them on every side. The girl's blood ran cold. There was no escape. Got the choice. Radar screamed like a dying animal. Red dots filled the screen, circling them from every side. The girl's chest tightened as she stared at it. There was no escape now. The human's hands gripped the controls, his face hard but calm. They've trapped us. She swallowed, her throat dry. Yes, they will not let you go. Not while I am here. His eyes flicked to her. They want you. Her heart lurched. He had guessed the truth. She didn't answer. They said it, didn't they? His voice was quiet, not angry, but heavy. They'll let me live if I hand you over. She turned her face away, shame burning in her chest. Yes, if you give me to them, they will leave you. Silence filled the cockpit. The alarm still wailed. The radar still blinked red. But for a moment, the only sound she heard was her own heartbeat. Finally, he spoke. I'm not giving you to them. Her head snapped toward him. What? You're a fool. They will destroy. U.S. both. His eyes stayed fixed on the ships outside. Maybe, but I won't betray you. Not after everything. Her lips trembled. She had expected anger, blame, maybe even hatred. But not this. Not loyalty. You owe me nothing, she whispered. I am their traitor, not yours. He shook his head. You're not their traitor. You're their victim. There's a difference. The words struck deep. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not her commanders, not her people. No one. The enemy ships moved closer, surrounding them like wolves. A voice boomed across the comms, sharp and merciless in her language. Surrender now. Hand her over, human, and live. Resist and be erased. She shivered at the sound. Her people sounded less like soldiers now, and more like shadows cold. Merciless, inhuman. The human glanced at her. Translate. Her voice shook. They promise you life, if you give them me. He snorted. Their promises mean nothing. Another blast struck the shields. Sparks burst from the panels. The ship shuddered, engines groaning under the strain. They won't stop, she said, her voice breaking. You don't understand. They will follow us across the stars. There is no escape. Then we make a stand, he said firmly. Her eyes widened. Against all of them? That is suicide. Maybe, he said. His voice was steady, calm, as if he had already accepted it. But better to die fighting than to hand someone over to monsters. Her heart twisted painfully. Monsters. He was. Talking about her own people. Tears burned her eyes. She pressed her hands to her face. The war, the betrayal, the hunger, the pain, it all came crashing down at once. For so long, she had believed her people were strong, righteous, the chosen. But now she saw the truth. They were not saviors. They were hunters. They had left her broken in the void, and now they wanted her dead. And yet the human, her enemy, stood by her side, ready to die for her. Why? The ship shook again. Harder this time. The shield screamed under the impact. Red lights flooded the cockpit. They'll break through soon, the human muttered. The girl's chest heaved with every breath. Her mind raced. She could not let him die for her. Not like this. She stumbled forward, grabbing the comms unit. His hand shot out to stop her. What are you doing? Her voice cracked. If I surrender, they may let you live. No. His grip tightened on her wrist. His eyes burned into hers. Don't you dare? She gasped. His voice was fierce, unshakable. They'll kill you, and then me anyway. Don't believe their lies. Her lips trembled. She wanted to believe him. But her fear screamed louder. Another blast struck. The ship spun violently. Warning alarms howled. Her people were closing in. She stared into his eyes, desperate, broken. Then what do we do? His jaw clenched. He looked at the radar then. At her, we make a choice. Together. Her hands shook as she gripped the edge of the console. Her whole life had been built on obedience, on loyalty to a people who had now cast her aside. And here was a man, an enemy, who offered her something her people never had. A choice. Her chest ached. Her heart pounded. She could not breathe. Radar lit up again. Brighter this time. Dozens more ships appeared, closing fast. Her blood ran cold. There are more. The human's face hardened. He whispered, almost to himself, Then this is it. The girl's voice trembled. Do we fight, or do we run? His eyes met hers, steady, unflinching. That depends. Do you trust me? Her breath caught. The question pierced straight through her fear. Did she? Did she dare? She opened her mouth, but no words came. The alarms wailed louder, shaking the ship. The enemy fleet locked weapons. Her choice had to be made. Now. The fire of the cockpit was drowning in red light. Alarms screamed. The ship shook as another blast struck the shields. Human's eyes stayed locked on hers. His voice was steady, even as the world burned around them. Do you trust me? Her breath came in sharp, uneven gasps. Her heart hammered so hard it hurt. For a moment she couldn't speak, but then soft, Trembling, she whispered, "Yes, his." Lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "Then hold on." He slammed the lever forward. The engines roared. The ship shot ahead like a bullet through the void. The girl cried out as the stars blurred around them. Behind, enemy fire ripped through the wreckage field. Dozens of ships surged after them. The human worked the controls with fierce precision, weaving between blasts of light. "We can't outrun them forever. We need a plan." She gripped the console, fear choking her words. "There are too many." He glanced at her. "Not if we even the odds." Her brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" He pointed to the wreckage they had just left behind, shattered hulks of massive warships, drifting in silence. "That graveyard isn't just debris. It's fuel, weapons, power waiting to be used." Her eyes widened as she understood. He was going to use the wreckage against them. The ship banked hard, engines screaming as he pulled them into a wide arc back toward the debris. The enemy followed like a swarm of shadows. "They'll think we're trapped," he muttered. "That's when we hit them." Her heart pounded. She had never seen anyone fight like this, reckless, daring, alive. But her fear whispered back, "It won't work. They are too strong. They are too many." Still, she stayed silent. She had chosen to trust him. The ship dived into the wreckage field. Broken metal loomed around them like jagged teeth. Laser fire cut through the void, striking dead hulks, sending fragments spinning into space. The human's eyes narrowed. His hands flew over the controls. "Now," he whispered. He pressed a switch. The ship released a cluster of charges, small, glowing orbs drifting into the wreckage. The enemy didn't notice. They charged in after them, weapons blazing. The human pulled up hard, engines straining as he dragged the ship clear of the wreckage. The girl's stomach lurched with the motion, and then the charge's detonated dot light exploded across the graveyard. Shattered ships ignited, fuel cells bursting in chain reactions. A storm of fire and twisted metal ripped through the void. The enemy fleet screamed into the trap. Dozens of ships were torn apart in an instant. Shockwaves hurled wreckage in every direction. The girl clung to her seat, her mouth open in awe. You destroyed them." The human's face was hard, focused. Not all, but enough. The radar blinked furiously. Half the red dots vanished. The rest scattered, struggling to regroup Dot for the first time. The girl felt something strange, something she hadn't felt since before her people abandoned her. Hope that her chest ached with it. She turned to the human, her voice breaking. "We can win." But his expression darkened. "We're not safe yet. Look." The radar lit up again. New signals. Bigger ones. Her breath caught. Reinforcements. The cockpit shuddered as a colossal shadow emerged from the void. A warship 10 times the size of their vessel. Its hull bristled with weapons. Her heart dropped. "No." The comms crackled, and a voice filled the cabin. Cold, familiar. "Little one," the voice said in her language, "you run from your family. You hide behind a human. Shameful, pitiful. But it ends now." Her blood froze. She knew that voice. Her old commander. The one who had ordered her left behind. The human saw her face pale. "Who is it?" She swallowed hard, her throat burning. "The one who abandoned me." The commander's voice continued, dripping with venom. "You are broken, weak. You disgrace us, but do not worry. We will erase your shame. You will die, and the human with you." Tears stung her eyes. Rage boiled in her chest. For so long, she had begged for their acceptance. For so long, she had blamed herself. But now, hearing his voice, she felt only anger. The human's hand brushed the controls, steady and calm. His voice was low but firm. "Then we fight. Together." She turned to him, her tears shining like Fire. For the first time, she felt no fear in her answer. Yes, together. Outside, the warship's cannons lit up, charging for the kill. The girl's heart raced. She had chosen her side, but as the first blast tore through the void, she knew this battle had only begun. The last stand, the void glowed with the warship's light. Its cannons charged like suns, ready to burn them into dust. The girl's hands trembled over the console. The enemy was too strong, too massive. Every instinct screamed at her to surrender. But then she looked at the human dot. His face was calm, steady, unshaken. His eyes burned with quiet fire. He was not afraid. Not even now. Her chest tightened. He had given her something her people never had, a choice. And she had made it. Dot. No more running. No more shame. She straightened in her seat, voice steady. We fight. The human gave a small nod. Then let's make it count. The warship opened fire. Blazing beams tore through the void, shaking their ship like a leaf in a storm. Alarms howled. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The girl's mind raced. The human was skilled, yes, but their small ship couldn't last long against such power. Her eyes darted across the console, searching, till she found it. The warship's scanners. She still remembered their patterns, their blind spots. Her heart pounded as she turned to him. There is a way. If we get close enough, their guns cannot hit us. He raised an eyebrow. Close enough? That's suicide. She shook her head fiercely. No, it's survival. Trust me this time. For a second, their eyes locked. Then he smiled, just a little. I do. The ship banked hard, diving straight toward the enemy warship. The commander's mocking voice filled the comms. Pathetic. Do you think you can harm us in that toy? But the girl ignored him. For the first time, his words had no power. The small ship twisted and spun, weaving through blasts of light, dodging fire that could shatter moons. The warship loomed larger and larger until it filled the view like a mountain of metal. The girl guided the human's hands, her voice sharp and sure. Left down now, straight. There, that path. Together, they slipped through the blind spot. The warship's massive cannons struggled to track them. Its own size worked against it. The human grinned, sweat on his brow. I see it. You're right. The human grinned, sweat on his brow. I see it. You're right. They shot forward, racing along the warship's armored hull, so close they could almost touch it. The giant cannons above couldn't aim this low. The girl's eyes burned with fury as she stared at the cold steel. This ship abandoned me. This commander left me to die. No more. The human's voice was firm. Then let's end it. He armed the last of their explosives, small, but deadly if placed well. The girl guided him, pointing to weak points only she would know. There, the power conduit, and their secondary fuel lines. Hit them, and the beast will fall. The ship darted along the hull, dropping charges as enemy fighters swarmed in, desperate to stop them. The human fought them off, hands moving like lightning across the controls. Blasts ripped through the void, but somehow they survived. Finally, the last charge dropped. The girl's breath came fast, her chest aching. It is done. The human pulled the ship away, speeding into the void. The commander's voice screamed through the comms, fury breaking his calm mask. You cannot escape, broken one. You are nothing. Always nothing. The girl's hands clenched into fists. Tears burned her eyes, but they were not of sorrow anymore. They were of strength. She pressed the detonator. The charges ignited. The warship shuddered as fire tore across its spine. Explosions bloomed like stars, ripping through its conduits, its fuel lines, its heart. The commander's voice turned to static. Then silence. The massive ship split apart, its burning carcass drifting into the endless dark. The girl stared, her chest heaving, her eyes wide. It was over. The monster that had haunted her was gone. The human let out a long breath, leaning back in his chair. "We did it." Slowly, she nodded. "Yes, we did." For a long moment, they sat in silence, watching the wreckage burn. The stars shone around them, quiet and eternal. Finally, she turned to him, her voice soft. "I was broken. I was nothing. But you showed me another way." He looked at her, his tired face warming with a small smile. "You weren't nothing. You just needed someone to remind you." Her throat tightened. A tear rolled down her cheek, but this time it was not of pain. It was of freedom. She whispered, almost to herself. "I am not theirs anymore. I am not broken." The human gave a small nod. "No, you're alive." Outside, the wreckage of the warship drifted away, swallowed by the stars. For the first time in her life, the girl felt something she had never truly known, peace. But deep in the void, unseen by either of them. More red signals flickered to life on the radar. The war was not over. Not yet.